Let's get this started. So thank you all for joining us on today's webinar, How Velixo Brings Acumatica and Excel Together. I'm Strati Moustakis, the content marketing specialist at PC Bennett Solutions, and I'm joined today by Duffy Cohen, who's the VP of Channel Sales and Customer Success at Velixo, and Anthea Halder, who is a Customer Success Manager at Velixo. Today, they're going to take us through an overview and demonstration of Velixo, which is the premier solution for reporting with Acumatica. There is, just as a reminder, there's a Q&A feature that's going to be available for this webinar. And so as the presentation goes on, if any questions pop up into your head, please feel free to ask them, and then we'll be able to address them once we wrap up our initial portion. I don't want to steal too much of Duffy and Anthea's spotlight here. They're kind of the main presenters on today's call, so I'm going to turn my camera off and pass the mic over to them. So feel free to take it away, you two.
Perfect. I'm just going to start here by sharing my screen. Okay. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining this webinar today. We're very excited to show you exactly what a powerful tool Velixo is. So your speakers today will be myself, Anthea Halder. I am a customer success manager over here at Velixo, and Duffy Cohen, who is the VP of sales and customer success at Velixo. And right after my short presentation, he will be running through a demo of exactly what Velixo can do. So just to get started, wanted to say a big thank you to those who have joined us today, and to show our appreciation, we are offering an incentive to everybody that is a part of this webinar. So everyone here is getting a 15% off for their first year at Velixo if you sign up within the next month. And also just wanted to mention, as we said before, there is a chat box that we are monitoring. So if you have any questions, please do feel free to put it in the chat, and we will be answering it throughout the presentation. And if not, we will be answering it afterwards. So to get started, I did just want to first emphasize what Velixo really is. So Velixo really started, Velixo is what you're able to bring data from your Acumatica onto Excel, and in that same light, you're able to push data that you have from Excel back into Acumatica. So we have only been around for about 5 years now, and in that short period of time, we have grown to over 1,200 customers. And a big reason for that is because of our founder, Gabriel Michaud. So he has over 25 years of experience in that ERP space, and he was actually the first retailer partner for Acumatica in Canada. And upon leaving that job, he worked for another 5 years in product development. And that's actually where he came up with the idea of Velixo. You'll see our CTO, Pavel Kabir here, who has also previously worked for Acumatica. We have Duffy again, he's our VP of sales here at Velixo. Harry, he is our support and training and documentation person. You will see Puria. He is our reporting analyst. So any sort of report building that you might need, he is our go-to guy, and he is great at what he does. We have Manon, who is part of our accounting team. And then myself, I'm part of the customer success team. If you have, for any of our existing or any of our future customers, if you ever need any sort of support, anything, please do feel free to reach out to me. I am here to help you with the overall success of our product. So a little bit of history of Velixo. So the whole idea of Velixo was created because of a previous customer of Gabriel's. So they reached out to him and wanted the ability to extract data the way that they wanted to and bring it onto Excel. And they wanted to be able to manipulate that data and really just live within Excel. Having to learn a new ERP system and a whole different structure of reporting just seemed like a very daunting task. So he created a way that you are able to extract data in real life and bring it onto Excel. First thing you'll see when you download Velixo, which only takes 30 seconds to a minute, is that we have created over 80 functions that helps our customers extract financials, extract projects, and generic inquiries. And Duffy will show you that in a minute. But we also did want to emphasize that we do leverage all the unique capabilities of your cloud ERP, and did want to also emphasize that all the data that you see is live and refreshable within a click of a button. So Velixo actually is and continues to be the #1 rated solution in the Acumatica marketplace right now. So next, I did want to go into the user friendliness of Velixo. I do think that's one of the core pillars of our business. So we wanted to keep the product as user friendly as possible. And you will see that our data does update very quickly from Acumatica. And at the end of the day, you really are using Excel. So there is no learning curve there. How much knowledge you have for Velixo will really depend on the knowledge that you have within Excel. Other than that, two things to mention is that we do have an unlimited user model. So anybody who wants access to Velixo will have access to Velixo. You just have to send them the link. There's no additional fees for additional users. And we do also mirror the rights that individuals have within Acumatica. So if somebody on your team doesn't have access to a certain budget screen, they won't have access to that data in Velixo either. You just have to make sure that those permission rights are set up within Acumatica first. And here are just some of our happy customers. Of course, we couldn't include everybody, but these are just some of the customers you might be on the same boat with. One thing to mention here is that Acumatica is a customer of ours. They themselves really did see the product in Velixo. And last thing here, this is just our contact information. So if anybody has any questions, anything they would like to ask us after the presentation, please do feel free to reach out to us. This is just mine and Duffy's email here. And I will now hand it over to Duffy. He is just going to go over a demo of Velixo.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Anthea. And nice to meet everyone here today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll be able to get started on Velixo. All right. So that being said, first thing that happens once you install Velixo for the first time, which will only take about 30 seconds to a minute, is that we'll be able to get started on our first worksheet. So for us, we would send you off an installation link. You would go ahead and download that, and then Velixo would install to your specific device. Like Anthea already mentioned, we have an unlimited user model. So you can send this link to every other member on your team. They themselves would be able to have access to the solution. And there's no additional fee for that because it is an unlimited user model. You'll see just that quick, Velixo has installed. So we'll be able to get started on our first worksheet. Velixo is supported by both Windows and Mac. Mac we launched about a year ago, so there's all the functionalities are available. There's just one report distribution, which I'll touch on, that's not yet available on that. All right, we can close this getting started because you all have me on the call today. All right. So the first thing that you will notice once we download Velixo is that ribbon up top that it's been installed. And once I click on this ribbon, you'll see a drop down of the specific functionalities you'll have access to, such as refreshing your data, connecting Acumatica to Excel, drilling down on a unique transaction, sending out your reports to recipients directly from Excel, pushing your data back from Excel directly into Acumatica, some additional functions, and then support. The first thing that we're going to do today is connect Acumatica to Excel. So let's go ahead and click on the connection manager icon. And at this point, we'll just fill out our appropriate information. And what's great about this is, the username and the passcode that you will utilize here to log in is the exact same ones that you use to log into Acumatica. Like Anthea mentioned, this is, how we are able to set up those permission rights. So you don't have access, or customers who don't have those permission rights aren't able to access things they shouldn't have access to. Next piece here is the connection name. Highly suggest just to keep it as short as possible. As you're building your reports out, you'll see you'll be utilizing this name quite frequently. And then we also support Active Directory or SSO. Let's go ahead and connect. And while it's connecting, I do want to emphasize, so for some of the folks here who have multiple tenants, you don't have to worry. We fully support, scenarios if you have multiple tenants. One of our first customers, KFC, they have, I believe, 45 tenants, and there's no issues there by any means. Once we're logged in, you'll see that there is a cloud that is in green indicating we are connected. If you're not connected, you'll just see an arrow strike through it in red. With that being said, I always like to get started showcasing the foundation of Velixo, and no better way than showing a simple trial balance. We'll start off with that today, and then we'll jump into a sample pack report where we're going to highlight some of the core functions that we've added over the last 5 years. First thing we're going to look for today is our chart of accounts. You can manually put these in one by one, but that's fairly time consuming. As opposed to doing that, simply click on the Insert Chart of Accounts icon. You'll see our connection that we're connected to. Simply click on Insert and you'll see the list of your accounts populate, hopefully momentarily. Oh, and it appears to have just worked. You know what? At that point, let's go back to the trial balance, given that everything's functional again. Okay, so usually 1 to 2 seconds, you click it, it's going to update real time. When you double click on the cell itself, this is where you will see it's a dynamic function. So like I mentioned, or Anthea mentioned, we have over 80 functions for financials, projects, and inquiries within Acumatica. Here, this is just one of those 80. So at any point as you're building your reports out, you can log out, log back in. You'll see the refresh all icon in your top left. Once you click on that, anything that you've updated that has been modified since the last time you logged in will automatically update. So the whole idea here is once you've created your reports, the legwork is done. I'm going to put a few additional filters here. And that's 20 and our actuals. Next item we're going to look for is our account name. At this point, all you'll do is type equals account name. Once you do so, you'll see a drop down of the appropriate syntax. So that connection demo that we originally connected to, and then we'll take the account code. But we want all the accounts, so let's just drop that down. And just like that, we have all of our accounts. Next, we will look for our account balance. You can go both 2 ways. First one is going the same route I already went, where we're typing in the formula. Secondly, you can use the insert function icon. And for you items to notice here is that number 1 in the category section, we've added 7 new categories. So generic inquiries, projects, general ledger, audit functions, list functions, and write back. If I click on general ledger, you'll see a list of functions that populate. We're just going to take the account ending balance for our given instance, and then all you're going to do is fill out the appropriate fields. We'll leave sub-account blank for all intents and purposes and our financial period. Okay. We are completed at this point, but before I click on OK, just note where it says help on this function. Once you click on that, you will be redirected to our support page where we have content for every single function we host. So you'll see number 1, the syntax, the parameters. We go above and beyond where you'll see different examples which are off the beaten path, but it gives you a better understanding of how else you can utilize these functions. Then I'll scroll below, any limitations. This was just for one function. I did mention we have support for every function, so you'll see that here. Same content. And then lastly, I do always like to emphasize that we have reports that you can repurpose if you'd like. So you'll see here example reports tutorials. So I'll be going over the P&L, trial balance, and the constructions project reporting sample pack in the next little bit. But you can utilize these, repurpose them. The password and username is demo, so we don't make it too difficult to utilize it yourself. Okay, with that being said, let's get our report looking a bit better. All right, so we have our financials and we know our financial period, but let's assume we are looking for actuals in November. You'll see everything updates in real time. Let's assume we wanted to compare our actuals in 1 year versus the previous year. You can easily do that. Same idea would apply. You would just change the financial period. You'll see values adjust. But let's say we want to compare actuals versus our budget. You can do that. You might have multiple budgets or forecasts based on how you set up your accounts within Acumatica. Here, I'll show you values do exist in this scenario. And this is where some of those additional functions we have, so hiding 0 rows, hiding 0 columns, will come into effect as you're building these reports. Let's make this feel like a full trial balance. I'll just put the variance in here. All right. All right, there we go. So last item I'm going to walk through is the different ways you can group accounts before we switch on over to a sample pack. And there are 3 different scenarios. The first one is to group a specific set of accounts. The secondary one is grouping a range, and the third one is using wildcards. So in the first scenario, let's say we're looking for 10-100, 10-200, and then 10-300. All we're going to do is put a semicolon in between those values. In our scenario, we'll just copy the cells, paste, and you'll see we'll get the addition of all of those values. All right, just give me 1 second. This is bothering me a little bit. There we go. Okay, so the secondary example is looking at ranges. So let's take a look at 10-100 all the way to 10-750. And you'll see everything updates in real time. And lastly, let's take a look at the one that I find is the most useful in many cases, and it is called wildcards. Let's say we're looking for any account with a leading 1. After that, we'll put 4 question marks because we have 5 total digits. And then let's say we don't want 10-200. And you'll see everything update in real time. So this is why I wanted to show, the trial balance first to show you that foundation of Velixo. With that being said, we'll pivot into now that sample pack report. We're going to be looking at the first one now. It will prompt me to log in. Unless I have already logged in. All right, so let's just go ahead. Okay. All right. So we are logged in, and you'll see at this point here within the sample pack, there are various reports you'll have access to. So P&L, trailing P&L, income consolidated report, cash flow statement. Let's just click on refresh on. All right, there, we have some values here. So like I mentioned, income statement, cash flow statement, trial balance. So you can reuse these if you'd like. And in this given scenario, you'll see this is a consolidated report, but we can easily toggle between given branches. So let's say we're looking for a report for another given branch. You'll see that report populate in real time. That's just using standard Excel functionalities for that dropdown itself. And I'm going to dive in right away into one of our most highly utilized functions called drill down. Now, put simple, it allows customers to click on any cell within any one of their spreadsheet and go to the source transaction directly within Acumatica. So we're going to take an example. We'll take the total operating expenses. We're going to click on drill down, and momentarily you will see a new sheet that is going to open up, and it's going to highlight all the transactions within your total operating expenses, where they're coming from, the financial period, the branches, and the appropriate balances. But I do want to highlight how we are connected into Acumatica, so that tight integration. So let's take this example right here, and let's click on view transaction. You will see we're going to be redirected into the Acumatica environment in the account details section, where we'll see, okay, it's one night at the Hilton, 201.73. As long as you've uploaded the invoice, you can find that relatively quickly. Just click on the reference number, and then it's going to populate. So you have that full visibility to every single invoice within Acumatica. All right, so we're opening it up. So it just gives you a full picture of the invoice itself. And you also have the ability to drill back, so you can click on cell A15 and it's going to indicate exactly from what cell it came from. So in this scenario, this came from the travel category. With that being said, I'm going to dive into one of the next tools, which I think is extremely valuable, and it is the ability to extract GIs from Acumatica, generic inquiries. So, Velixo services, financials, projects, GIs, GIs gives you that ability to be able to report on anything outside of that. I believe Acumatica comes with 400 built-in GIs. So I'm just going to show an example now of a GI and how we take it in and bring it into Excel. So we'll take bills and adjustments as an example. And this screen is a GI that we're looking at right now. We don't do anything here besides click on customization and then edit, where we'll just copy that inquiry title and bring that into Excel. All right, so let's go back into Excel at this point. Now you can type equals GI for generic inquiry. And then just like before, we'll put that connection in and then we'll put the inquiry title in. That is all. At this point, it's that quick. So the bills and adjustments, so that your entire bills and adjustments within Acumatica is loaded. This is a live view within Acumatica. So you can create filters now, parameters. You can really report on anything. So the examples are inventory reports, complex sales commission reports. It's really, this gives you full visibility to anything outside of financials and projects. With that being said, I will dive into the next functionality, and let's have that toolbar showcasing here where you'll see new list. And this is a real beast from my opinion, a lot of customers that we work with, where you can actually send out many reports within a given instance to multiple members, either internal or external. So like I mentioned, when you click on that new list, this will be the template that will populate. We filled it out for the purposes of the webinar for today. First thing that you'll notice is within column A, the format. So you can choose the flexibility on how you want to send out these reports. Do you want to send them out in Excel, PDF, dynamic, static report? You have that ability to choose how you want to send that out. Then you can choose the file name, self-explanatory, tabs based on the below sheet that you see here. Folder path, so if you're saving your reports to SharePoint, OneDrive, or another online medium, just put that path right there. Recipients. And then from my perspective, the two most important columns are G and J. So G allows you to put the report as in the body of an email as opposed to an attachment. So you don't, for those who don't like to open up their emails, they'll be able to just see a live view of it. But on top of that, you can slice and dice these reports further. So let's say you just want to send a line item to an individual, you have that ability to do that. And then you'll see here being able to filter by given branches. You can create your own customized filter on how you want to send out these reports. When you are at the point where you're ready to send these reports out, just note here, you can send immediately. We run various demos, so we save to drafts for our sake. But all we're going to do is click on distribute all, and then the reports will be sent out in real time. As these reports are being sent out, I do want to mention or answer a question that might come up because it comes up quite frequently, is if you can automate your sends. You can definitely do that. That is available in the Windows Task Manager. You'd have to set that up. We are down the line looking to include that within this template that you see here today. All right, should take another moment or so. We're only sending 7 reports out, so it shouldn't take more than about 45 seconds. All right. So with that being said, let's go into our drafts. And you'll see all of the reports already populated. First report here, let's say a CFO only wants to see the net sales. Easily, you can put that as a line item. Secondary report here, income consolidated report, same idea in the body of an email. I'll show you 2 other reports. This one being, I believe this is just for a given branch. Yeah, so the given branch, Service West, we've removed the budget in this scenario. And then lastly, you'll see here consolidated P&L. And I like to mention, we're just extracting what's on the spreadsheet itself. So this pie chart, these tables that have been created are just using standard Excel functionalities. And you can change your logo to your company's logo. You don't even have to send out a report that has any Velixo associated functions in it. Okay, so with that being said, we went over the generic inquiries, we went over report distribution. I'm going to pivot over into the write back functionality. You'll see right up top here that ability to push your data back into Acumatica. This actually came from a customer about 1.5 years ago who reached out to us and asked us if there's a way to do so. Happy to share, if you take a look right now where it says new sheet, right below that, there are various ways where you can push your data back into Acumatica. We take a look at the first scenario, journal transaction. Once we click on that, you will see a template that is populated. I know not all the columns here are mandatory. You'll just fill out the ones that are mandatory for your business and for the ones that are required within Acumatica. And you will be able to simply just click on perform write back, and then your journal transactions are automated. I can't tell you the number of customers who are using Velixo for just journal transactions alone. Next example is budget write back, and I have a sample that I'm going to show you on how you can utilize Velixo from a budgeting standpoint. So let's just let's take one of the examples we have here, budget write back. And if you've used the budget screen within Acumatica before, I'm sure you'll see that the screen that we've created is very similar to that. We did that on purpose. You'll see a revenue and expense account. You'll see in our scenario here 2 custom columns that we've created. You'll see the appropriate periods for this given scenario. And let's assume in our instance we have to modify the COGS. You'll see that being reflected in all the given periods. You can use standard Excel functionalities if you need to allocate, for instance, more of a budget to multiple periods. You can use what if scenarios here. It's Excel at the end of the day, and you'll still be able to live within Excel. We're able to also piggyback on other functionalities that are already embedded within Outlook, within Microsoft itself, and we can create a collaborative experience. So let's say, for instance, I want Anthea to review this report. Like, say, Anthea, can you please take a look? At that point, Anthea will receive a comment within Outlook, and then there'll be a trail on the right-hand side to understand who's really working on what. But like I mentioned, you don't have to worry about the permission rights within an individual because it's based on what has been set up within Acumatica. Now, before we're at the point where we're ready to send out this report into Acumatica, just note you have the option to release your data right away or not. Most customers prefer to release it only when they're within Acumatica, so it gives them that way to back check the report that they're pushing back. At this point, all we'll do is click on perform write back. And then your budget will be pushed back into Acumatica in about a moment or so. So you'll see here your budget has been pushed back. At that point, all you'll do is go into budget. You'll go into your universal search within Acumatica, type budget, release budget. And then you'll see here the budget. All you'll have to do is click on release all. And that's it. The next one I wanted to highlight is generic write back. So this one gives you the ability to push the data back into any single screen or import scenario that has been created already within Acumatica. So in our instance here, in our demo environment, you'll see every single import scenario we've created: non-stock items, certified products, deductions and benefits, vendor prices. Let's say I click on vendor prices. Once you click on create generic write back worksheet, in the same vein, you will see a new template populate. And this is populating based on the columns or that import scenario that has already been created within Acumatica. So at this point, you'll be able to update all the data, push it back into Acumatica, click on release all, and you'll be off and running. but just make sure that the import scenario does exist within Acumatica beforehand. With that being said, I am going to switch momentarily just for a couple of minutes into the project side, because the event we do have some project related individuals here. I just want to highlight that we service projects just as much as financials, just as much as generic inquiries. 40 of those functions, more than that, are related to the project module alone. So I'm going ahead, we're signing in right now. It should take about a moment or so. All right. And I do want to highlight that this report sample pack, just like the other one I had highlighted, is also available, so you can repurpose these and use this for yourself. So this is for a company in the in the construction industry. We created this report about a year and a half ago for them. And you'll see a dashboard on the left-hand side. That's being extracted by the sheets that you see below here. We take a look at the first report. This is just a project portfolio report where we'll have one given project manager, but you'll be able to toggle between that given project manager, where you'll be able to talk about their ongoing projects, associated KPIs. But biggest piece I wanted to highlight here is when we're looking at the function itself that's being used, similarly, how we started off with financials, where we were using equals account ending amount. Now we're going to be using project ending amount. We'll be using task, cost code. So we created that functionality so folks in the project or construction industry have access to the same functionalities. Secondary report here, taking a look at this one, this is basically you'll be able to report based on a given project, and then the same idea, report for a given period. So if you change the given period, you'll see that report fluctuate. WIP reports, we have various customers who use Velixo for WIP reports. It's going to be using a hybrid of Velixo associated functions in addition to Excel related functions. But once you create that, the report is complete. And then lastly here, you'll see a sample of our project forecasting tool. So project write back tool. So this allows you the ability to write back your forecast into Acumatica. So you'll have full ability to do that, and that will also be highlighted where you'll see news sheet on the right-hand side. Last item I do want to highlight today is all of the support that is available. Yes, of course, you have a customer success manager now if you're already an existing customer, but if you don't, you would have a CSM, and it would be Anthea, who is on the call today. But outside of that, I do want to highlight the content that is available from a support documentation standpoint. So if we take a look right here, I don't usually like to highlight or showcase YouTube as a whole, but you'll see here we have various videos that will highlight how you can use Velixo, whether it's for allocations, reconciliations, write back, date-based reporting. All this is available on our YouTube channel. We're going to be pushing everything over to our website, so not many individuals are aware of where this is located. This is a valuable resource. And then outside of that, on our website, it was even on the toolbar, but I'm just showing on our website where you can find everything if you go to velixo.com. So you'll see some getting started videos here that will show you how you can use Velixo for your own purposes. Example reports, like I mentioned, troubleshooting, but you'll also have us, and we always have a chat box here too. Harry from our team, you'll see him right there. He's always available, and he's pretty quick with answering any questions from a reporting standpoint that you all may have. With that being said, Anthea and I wanted to thank everyone for giving us the opportunity to highlight and showcase Velixo today. Happy to answer any questions that there might be.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stuffy. That was a great presentation. And yeah, to reiterate his point, if anyone on the call has any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A feature. But we do have some questions that came in beforehand. And so Duffy, one of them, we could probably start off where new customers of yours usually start off with, which is what type of setup or training is typically required when they bring Velixo on?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It's really based on the individual's experience with Excel and understanding of Excel, which will indicate or dictate the learning curve for Velixo. We have various customers who are, they'll have the license keys that are provided by your team, and they're off and running, and then we receive emails that they're spinning their wheels at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And we have others who, might not have the resources for training at the time, for time being, so they might need some on-hand support. If they're going to have a lot of individuals touching Velixo, so if it's 3 or 4 individuals touching Velixo, it might make sense for them.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And then it seems like you covered a lot of the ways that Velixo handles financials, but does your software handle things outside of financials?
Yeah, of course. I only touched on one example of, I think it was a bills and adjustments example, but any single inquiry screen that you have in Acumatica, you can bring into Excel and vice versa.
Yeah, that's great. That's like really powerful, actually, that it handles all of that extracurriculars outside of financials. And so then in terms of licensings, how many users do we have, does Velixo provide to clients?
Yeah, so it's an unlimited user model. So, if you're 1, 5, 100 employees who need access, you'll all have access, and there's no additional fee for that.
Yeah, and if I remembered right, you said it works with both Windows and Mac.
Works with Windows and Mac. Yep. There's one limitation on Mac. That's the sending out reports, so report distribution. Outside of that, everything else is apples to apples comparison.
Great. And then the last one that we had, and then we'll probably wait a couple more minutes once we answer this one, just to see if any more questions roll in, is I think you said you work with multiple tenants. Is that right? And can you go into a little bit more detail?
Yeah, so you can have, I wouldn't say unlimited tenants, because I don't know what the maximum Acumatica can handle, but one of our customers, has 45 tenants. We have another one that has over 30 tenants. So there's no issues for us consolidating for multiple tenants on one spreadsheet.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, yeah, we'll just wait a couple moments to see if any additional questions roll in. But for right now, I'll just say we really appreciate everyone who joined the call today, and that it was very nice, especially you two, Anthea and Duffy, just to have you on and kind of demonstrate the power of Velixo. I think that's a great tool that, I mean, heck, if Acumatica uses it, clearly they have a lot of faith in what it can provide for its users. And so I think that's a great sign that it can really be powerful to PC Bennett customers as well. So definitely appreciate you guys joining the call, as well as all of the attendees who joined too.